Good evening and welcome to Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. Tonight, our special guest is author and retired licensed mental health counselor, Jackie Jordan. I am Donna Gray Banks. I am the host of Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. So Jackie, thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for being here this evening. Once again on Monday night, Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation is sponsored by Eilers Diamonds LLC, brought to you by Milton McCulloch, author of Love and Emancipation, L.D. Robinson, owner and operator of Ladero Press, and Angie B. and Bar T Productions. Please join me as we have our third Artist Black Talk series at the Land Museum. And you know what, this month it's going to be Brian Owens. He's a sculptor. I've never met a sculptor, so I'm really excited about him being here with us on May 26, 2022 at 5 p.m. at the Land Museum of the Arts. Please come join us and meet a Black sculptor. I'm just so excited about getting to know him and that whole genre. And so if you have any questions for Jackie, please leave them in the chat room. And this conversation is being recorded. Good evening, Jackie. Please take a moment and give our audience a brief background about who you are.
Well, I am a published author, and I have been in the counseling field for 25 years, doing basically family therapy, working with children, working with adolescents, adults. It's been very rewarding. I'm from New York. I'm from Boogie Down Bronx. Yes. I moved here back in 1995, actually from Maryland. I have one daughter and two twin grandchildren.
Oh, nice.
And so my granddaughter's name is Milani, whom the book is named after.
Milani and Friends.
Milani and Friends. Yes, I've worked at Orange County here in Orlando for many, many years as a family counselor and in other administrative and professional roles. So I retired in 2017, which led me to the journey, or started, I'll say, the journey of writing my book after I retired. So in writing the book, when I retired, I still practiced. I was doing counseling one-on-one with a couple of agencies. And right now, I actually do work for a couple of agencies writing reports for children. These children are sheltered from their parents due to either abuse or neglect. DCF, of course, is involved. And once they are removed by the state of law in Florida, they have to have a comprehensive behavior health assessment completed, which is what I do. So this still kind of gives me a little hands into that social services counseling field by doing these reports.
You could have written a book about numerous things, being a 25-year counselor. So why children's book?
Well, in my practice, I mainly work with adults. I did work with some children, and the children aged pretty much 9, 10, and teenagers. And what I was finding is that a lot of the teenagers had some really serious issues: bullying, low self-esteem, didn't have friends. And of course, I had to work with these children, girls mainly, to help them, kind of develop some of their own self-worth. And for a lot of them, it was a struggle. So through the years, as I saw this happening, when I retired, I said, you know what, I would love to be able to talk to other girls around the country and their parents about some of these issues. So I asked God, I said, well, how can I do this? And then he kind of gave me the inspiration: write a book and put some of these thoughts and concerns and ideas in the book. But he said, I don't want you to start with that age group, 9 and 10, because already they've formulated some habits and some thought processes. I want you to start with younger children, which is why I devised a book for younger children, ages 4 to 8. And, I said, well, how do you talk to a 4-year-old about some of these concepts. So
Right.
the important part of my book is in the back of the book, I have 10 tips for parents and caregivers to give them some direction, some thought, some ideas on how to address some of these things with a young child, 4 years old. And I wanted dialogue. I want the parent or caregiver and the child to have a dialogue between them to talk about some of these things. So that's the beauty of the book. And in my opinion, I feel it kind of sets it apart from maybe some other children's books in that it talks about real life issues for a younger crowd and also brings the parents in because the parents are the key. They're the ones who have to help mold these children and teach these children and nurture these children. And they need help. They need help on how to do it,
Mm.
what to say, how to go about it. So that's why I included it in my book. And
Go ahead. So we're going to go all the way to question 6. So because you brought in the characters, tell us how hard was it, first of all, to incorporate Milani and her friends, and without giving away the whole book, the friends are an array, a rainbow of different kinds of people, right? And tell us how it is you came up with the picture perfect for the characters. So
well,
that's two things, right?
yes, things, yes.
Mhm.
Well, I had an idea of how I wanted the story itself to unfold around Milani, and I wanted Milani to have these different girlfriends. We'll call them girlfriends. What I find also in practices is that a lot of children don't have really close friends. They call everybody their friend, and everybody is not your friend.
Right.
You understand some of those concepts.
Mhm.
But in the book, I wanted to give them the life that they are bullied or picked on by other kids in the school. And so they became what they felt ostracized, possibly. So Milani, being herself ostracized,
Right.
wanted to bring them together and bring them all together as friends, to accept each other as, okay, you may have this issue here, but we still love you. We want you in our circle. And I just thought it was so important. So that's kind of how I gave life to these characters. And I picked certain attributes that I wanted to focus on. Not necessarily back in the day, of course, it was about our dark skin. I wanted to get away from that because we are multi-skin tone now. So that's not an issue. Hair used to be an issue back in the day. I didn't want to focus on hair. I wanted to focus on things that a lot of kids look at now, like one character has bony legs, skinny legs, and the kids teased her about being skinny legs looking like sticks.
Right.
One child is, of course, chubby. We had to have a little chubby wubby in there. And of course, they pick on her about being fat. Another little girl, in a positive way, she's a bookworm. She's a nerd. She loves reading. And of course, a lot of kids say, they call them nerdy. They don't like kids who are smart. So that's kind of her, if you would say, thing that they would go after. With Milani, it's her teeth. She has this big gap in her teeth. Like they used to say back in the day, you can drive a train through it. That was back in the day. And so that is her issue. So I wanted to bring each one of the girls a particular issue that they struggled with and possibly were picked on or ostracized for, but bring them together and say, you know what, in spite of all that, we're okay, and we have each other. So these are some of the things I want the parents to kind of hone in on. Because, kids struggle with that. And especially with friendships, being able to fit in somewhere with some crowd.
I think adults have a problem with that too. So I don't know that we ever really grow out of that. It really is. Yeah. It really is sometimes a very hard a hard thing to keep your friendships together for many, many, many reasons. But
Mhm.
when you stated there are tips in the back of the book, are those tips that the children and the parents do together? Did you say that and I missed it? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
they do them together. However, they're focused on the caregivers because it's written on a more mature level. So it's really for the caregivers to read and understand, okay, I can maybe talk about this to my child. It talks about what are the strengths of your child. So it gets the parent to think about, okay, what's my child good at? You know, what can other people see that's positive in her? What can she see that's positive in her? And think about those things and talk about it. Also, the challenges, because we all have strengths and weaknesses. I didn't want to say a weakness. I wanted to say a challenge because you can always improve on areas that you're not strong in. So I asked the parents, think about the challenges your child might be facing. And those things that definitely another child could target and let your child know, yeah, you might have this, that, you might be a little chubby right now, but
Right.
it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. You're still beautiful, you know? You're still
Yeah.
beautiful.
So it's about self-esteem, pretty
It
much.
is about self-esteem. I wanted to touch on 3 points: self-esteem,
Mm-hmm.
self-love,
Okay.
and positive friendships.
So why no boys?
Interesting. A few people asked about the boys. I have a penchant for girls. I work well with girls. I've always liked working with girls and with women. So with this first book, now understand this is my first one.
Exactly.
I wanted to focus on girls and girls' issues because it's close to my heart. You know,
Yes.
I personally know about those issues. So
And it's easier to write about something that you know as opposed to
exactly,
something that you don't know. Right.
right,
Exactly. Understood.
exactly.
So you
But
self-published. So tell us about that journey.
well, I don't consider myself self-published because I
Okay.
use a publisher. I
Okay.
use the publisher locally, Williams and King.
Mm-hmm.
It is a minority-owned business. Beautiful Black women, two women came together to start this business, publishing business, and they were the ones that helped me and guided me through this journey of getting the book started, editing, what should be there, illustrations, that kind of thing. So they were very helpful. Even though I did, of course, the majority of the work, they were there to that I can kind of go to as a guide. Yeah, because I had never written a children's book, hadn't written any book before.
So
So
who was your illustrator?
you say, who is he?
Who was he? Well, who is he?
Well, his name is Chauncey. He goes by Chauncey Alexander, and
Okay.
he lives in Maryland. He's a graphic artist, among other things that he does. But what I really admire about Chauncey is that I was able to give him a rough sketch or an idea of how I wanted the girls to look, how I wanted them to interact, especially with their families. And he was just so creative in putting it together, everything that I had requested, and putting the color and the life and the expressions. So, I mean, he was masterful. And as you can see, I don't know how many of your audience has actually seen the book. I'm going to hold it up. I don't know how
That's
much
good.
you can
Mm-hmm.
see it. You
We
can
had
see.
it in the advertising, but I don't think anyone
Okay.
ever saw the actual book. Mhm.
Yes, yes. He created these characters based on my specifications, if you will, how I wanted them to look. The girl who's heavy, the girls who's skinny, the one that.
Put it up again, Jackie. Put it up again.
Oh,
Put it up again.
yeah.
Okay. Nice. All right.
And it is an eye catcher. I loved how he used color, very, very vibrant color. And all through the book, he used color. And I think this is what grabs a lot of children
Mm-hmm.
and the parents because of the color. It kind of draws them. I had one little girl, her mother emailed me and said that she takes her book everywhere that she goes, because I think she had a problem with her teeth. and was being picked on. And this book was like a comfort to her. So she
Mhm.
puts it in her book bag and she takes it every.
Nice. So I know there are some hard things about writing a children's book. So let's speak on that. First, it must be difficult. You have to be very succinct.
Mhm.
Your
Yeah.
words have to be very, your paragraph short. So what
Yes.
was the hardest part about writing a child? I write novels, so you can go on forever, right?
Right.
You can write a scene that takes 5 pages, but you can't do that.
Mhm, mhm.
Children's book. Tell me how hard it was to be so succinct and get your message across.
Well, since it was my first one, I had to start out number one with the idea. What is the idea? What is it that I wanted to convey? And how do I want to flesh it out? And I had to be mindful of who my audience was going to be. My audience was going to be young children. So I had to keep the language basically on their level and also on level for a lot of adults who maybe aren't as literate as others and is easy to read, because this is a story that I want parents and children to engage in. Several people asked, well, can you put it online or maybe Kindle? But for me, that defeats the purpose. I wanted that the parent or caregiver and child sit together and have a bonding session and talk about these things. And you really can't do that effectively, I don't think, with it being online or on a Kindle. So to say about how hard it was, once I got the idea in mind and how I wanted it to flow, it became pretty easy. And then, of course, picking the words, making sure that they were readable, understandable, even on a child level, that maybe a child could read the book. So that was basically the challenge for me in writing. Now, my publisher, she says to me, writing a book is pretty easy, Jackie, but the hard part is getting it out there. It's the marketing. And well, she's so true.
Oh yeah.
It's so true. Because once you get a flow for the book, at least for me, it's just kind of evolved. And I was really happy about how I prefaced it and developed the stories up until the end. So it was a labor of love, I would say.
So marketing a children's book is different than we would market any other book? Probably.
No,
No.
it may be.
Probably,
It
yeah.
may it
Yeah.
may be because of the market. You have to pick the right market and population, and just getting it to the right people to take it to that next level. That's where I was running into what I considered the challenges. Okay, who do I know? And I really don't know a whole lot of people in that field. Of course, you, Donna, you've been very helpful. Um, could take the book, like the book, and take it to the next level. Take it to, other states, Atlanta or LA or New York. And I've been trying to contact people that I know in these states that could possibly help market the book. So that's been my challenge.
I think if I had a children's book, I would try to market it through Head Start.
I won't get into that one.
Oh, okay.
I did get it into one Head Start
Just
program.
one. Oh, yeah, that's crazy. Because that really should be an avenue for authors because they're everywhere. Head Start is everywhere, right? In the state of Florida, anyway.
Yes, yes.
I don't know about other states, but I do know in the state of Florida that they're everywhere. But keep trying, because there's so many. It would be nice if it could be that way. So what about the school system? That's hard nut to crack too.
That's another hard nut, because they're getting very particular. I know a few people, just not very closely, but work in the New York City public school arena. And you have to get a vendor number, and then you have to maybe bid, and it can get a little cumbersome. Also here in Orlando, you have to get on a vendor list before teachers can order your books. So I think all systems have their own process that could take, anywhere from, I don't know, a couple of weeks to a couple of months to get through.
Mhm.
And that's time consuming.
It is. And, when you're trying to do 20 other things, you say, okay, I'll get back to that, right? You never get back to it, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
I do understand that. Now, I don't have any little children. I do
Mhm.
have a young man who lives beside me now, who comes in the
Oh,
garage and just grabs whatever he wants. But
oh, nice.
I've
Mhm.
had to take some of the books from him because those aren't books that he should read. But I will have to order Milani and Friends for him since
That was,
he is a reader, and it's hard to find children's books that are of a certain quality, right? And you want them to learn something from them, that tell a story.
yes.
And I think that yours is one that is top of the list to show that and the differences in people. So I would love him to have a copy. I'll take care of that.
I
So
would.
how hard was it to give life to the characters? Okay. So my characters, I give life to them by the way they sound, right?
Mhm.
So let's say Rodney is from Chicago. So he'll say cat instead of car,
Mhm.
and somebody else is from New York and they'll say they have a New York dialect. How did you give character references to the children?
Well, in my what I tried to do was to give them life through their looks, through their expressions, how Chauncey positioned them on their pages. Um, this is how I envision, giving life to them,
Okay.
and I think he really did a good job. As you go through the book, you can see the children in their own home settings, and just to see their expressions and how they are interacting maybe with their parents or grandparents, that kind of thing. I just think he nailed it as far as I'm looking now, um, especially how they're posing. This one you would probably say is a little, I hate to use the expression, a little badass. She's
Right.
got that look about her.
Which one is Milani?
Melania is the one in the middle with the gap teeth. And I liked how he selected the colors for their outfits. It fits their personality. So I think a lot of readers just kind of envision maybe how these children could very
Mm,
well be,
right.
just by looking at them,
Right.
how they're dressed and everything.
So tell us about the many years of counseling. Did that help you to write this book?
I think it did. I think it did. Like I said, working with girls, working with their parents, working with adolescents, I saw a lot of children. Well, I won't say a lot, but some children, having gone through abuse or neglect, or just, bad home life.
Mm,
And of course, that spills over, into the school. And a lot of kids were referred by, counselors at school or teachers with, attitudes and, the fighting and that kind of thing. And, that stems from something. So, and I'm losing track now. I
oh,
better
that's
be
okay. Okay. So I just said, how many
with
your
the
years of
years.
counseling, how did that help you to write the book? Mhm.
That for that reason,
Right.
all these years dealing with all of these particular subjects and challenges with these children and their parents has helped me to think about what I wanted to portray in the book. Also, I used a little bit of my own history, my
Right. Your
own,
childhood experience. Yeah.
yes, my
Okay.
childhood experience, which I think is, for people, to know, I'm not just kind of taking it out of the air or something. I went through some things like this. I
Right.
had low self-esteem, and I did not have the support that I felt I needed to overcome some of those issues, which is why in the back of the book with the parents, I strongly recommended for them to bond with their children, bond and talk and be supportive and nurturing. And unfortunately, I didn't get that growing up. So, along with the 25 years of counseling other children, I brought in my own life experience as a child to help me
Right.
kind of, develop these girls and their issues. And really childhood trauma is probably the worst trauma, is the hardest to deal with as an adult, because you carry that baggage with you
I
into
was pretty good through elementary school. It was the mean girl in middle school that, yeah,
it's usually the middle
yeah.
school. Yeah.
Whew. That was the toughest part. But elementary school, I think, was pretty good. But I'm sure each level has its own challenges.
Yes.
But middle school for me was probably the hardest.
Mhm.
So why softback, not hardback? Was that a cost issue?
No, not really. And I don't have a really good answer for that.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah, I just like the look of the softback. I didn't really consider hardback at that time. I guess it could be put into a hardback form, but I don't know.
I was just thinking of durability. I think softback, they can just kind of scrunch it up and pull it back out. And so that was probably a great idea.
Yes.
Hardback can be cumbersome.
Mhm.
They can't really, move around with it. So I thought that might have been your reason, but it's okay. I think it's well for children to be able to. I tell everybody, I want a book. I like books. I mean, everybody does Nook or Kindle or whatever. I like a book I can put in my purse.
Yes.
So if it's, if it's too big for the purse, then it's probably not going to go, right?
Uh-huh.
So a child will probably take that because it can kind of, if they roll it up, nobody's going to be mad. It can
Exactly.
still, still read it and have it with them. Whereas a hardback, people might get a little upset if you scratch it or whatever. So I think that was a great idea. I think more children's authors should think about a soft cover, just because the hard covers may not last as long as you think.
Exactly.
Because of durability. Yeah, it's a great idea. So there are other books coming from Jackie Jordan. If so, what can we expect?
I would definitely like to write at least another children's book, and I'll tell you why. Milani, as I mentioned, is a twin, and her twin brother, who's depicted in this story, but very, very briefly, as she is his sister and his twin. So with the two of them, they're kind of going through this sibling rivalry kind of stuff. And he keeps saying to me, they call me Maje. That's my name instead of grandma. It's Maje. And he says, well, Maje, when are you going to write my book? When am I going to get a book? So I said, well, and I don't know how to answer that. I don't know.
Well, why don't you let him write it?
I guess he could contribute it.
Yeah.
I have an idea of where I want to take it,
Yeah.
but I think I personally wanted to see Milani and Friends really take off before I start a new venture. That was my main reason. So yes,
so Milani and Friends is going to have a book too. I'm just wondering.
Okay, Donna.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because book one for me did well, but book two kind of put it in another level, right?
Okay.
And it's a trilogy, so they're together. And then book three, right? Then you have a series, and people start looking for it, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying everybody should do that. I'm just saying that worked for me. It might work for children's books too. I know it worked for Nancy Drew, because how many of those were there?
I remember back in the day, Nancy Drew.
It worked for Nancy Drew. That worked for Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
I don't even know the name of the character that looked like a strong man, but how many books was he in? So you might want to consider that. Readers love series for children or adults, right? So a series is a great idea. The other question that Mama Tony asked is, have you looked into Scholastic? Mama Tony, let me look at that question again. Scholastic books for children?
I have not.
Okay, so that is a big production company house. Mama Tony, you can unmute if you want to give us more information on that. And go ahead.
I just know that from being a school media specialist, there's Scholastic textbooks, and they're always looking for books that they can print and put into, especially elementary school libraries. And you stated your book is for lower grade children. That means the children in pre-K, first and second grade.
Right.
And you also stated this is a paper book, and I know that for them, that bendable thing, they like that, and it's
Yeah.
easy for, as the teacher, for us to keep up with them as opposed to a hardback book, you know.
Right.
So I wish I could tell you who to contact, but I don't. I've been retired 7 years. I don't know who's doing what or where with Scholastic, but that would be a good venue to talk to find out about getting it. And once you get it, if it gets on the Scholastic thing, I don't know about other states, but here in Georgia, every school
Gets it. Right.
has a book fair 2 or 3 times a year, and that book would be on the book fair, and children will look forward to purchasing it, and parents
Right.
purchase it.
Thank you, Mama Tony. Each elementary school has a book fair usually every year, and the Scholastic is the head person that puts it on, the venue. And so yeah, I don't know exactly who to contact, but I think if you do a little research, you'll be able to find out how to make that happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Mama
you so
Tony,
much
for that. Yeah.
Okay.
So anything else you want to share with us, Jackie, about Milani and Friends or your journey? Or I really want you to tell us again about the publisher, so everybody has the name and how to contact them.
Okay, the publisher is Williams and King. Williams and King. They're located here in, actually Ocoee, Florida. And the
owner, Wadley would be interested in that.
Yeah, the owner is Marcia Williams. And I can put her number in.
Yeah, put it in chat.
Yeah, I can put it. Let me grab
for those people who are looking for a publisher. And Chauncey, how we get in contact with him, do you know?
Okay, now he might be a little difficult because he works for the University of Maryland.
Okay.
So he really did this project for me
as a favor.
Because his mother and I are very, very close, good friends. However, I do have the name of a illustrator. His name is Essex James, and he is located in Tampa.
Okay. Because people are always looking for illustrators for children's books and adult books. So
yes, and he's really he's African American, as is Marcia Williams. I see On Point Media is on, and that's Roger. So Roger, if you could, I know you're muted, if you can grab Marcia's number, if you can get it quicker than I can and put it in the chat, and Essex number, that would be helpful for everyone.
Yeah, so that so when it goes on YouTube, you know, everybody will know how to get in touch with your publisher and the illustrator. I'm sure that they would not mind a little marketing media.
Oh, absolutely not.
YouTube,
absolutely.
Right? We want to just share their knowledge, and it's not easy to find a publisher these days. Just, you know, because people, it's a lot of work. The paper products are hard to get. A lot of stuff is just, you know, a little bit harder than it used to be. So it's really nice to see people still in the business of publishing for people who are melanated.
Yes, let me put Marcia's number in the chat. Also, if anyone online is or knows someone that is interested in writing a book, I have a very good friend, Harriet Robeson. She's looking for co-authors. She's writing, or she's having to put together something like an anthology of different devotionals based on different subject matter. Breast cancer, domestic violence survivor. I think one is for teaching and another one is just for a devotional itself. So that also is another avenue, and she's looking for co-authors to add to do their own story for the anthology.
Okay, great. And her name is again Harriet Robeson?
Dr. Harriet Robeson.
Okay, great.
Let's see, I'm putting Marcia's number in the text right now.
Okay.
And her name is Marcia Williams.
Excellent. Yeah, it's just really nice to connect, right? It really just is. Thank you so much for that. So, we ask all our guests to give us a pearl of wisdom. If you would do that now, that would be wonderful.
I definitely would. And I wrote down a little something. I just want everyone to understand and be aware how serious mental health is, and especially in our community. I was just tragically struck by the recent suicides of two celebrities, women, that occurred. And I guess what's so shocking is that
You think they had everything to live?
they did. They both did. Naomi Judd and Chesley Chris. She's Miss USA,
Right.
beautiful, beautiful girl.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful. And what would drive a 31-year-old beautiful Miss USA to jump off a building? What would drive a famous country singer, Naomi Judd, to shoot herself? These are very, very violent types of methods, typically not fine for women. Women usually take the very slow, serene route of maybe taking pills or maybe drinking some sort of poison, but those are violent. And that was sending a message, a strong message to maybe someone or to a lot of people about the pain that they went through or they were going through, and they just could not shake it. I want to give the, and I'll put it in the chat, this is a number for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline.
Yes.
It's Lifeline Hotline. This is, of course, to pass on to anyone that you feel may need help or struggling. There are trained counselors on the other end of the line that can help talk to the person to get them, at least hopefully get them stable for the moment, and then make a referral for ongoing counseling. Because it's such a tragedy to lose a life. Once you're gone, it's gone.
Gone.
It's gone, it's done.
Yeah.
So we want to save as many people, and especially in our community, as we can. Let me just write this. Suicide prevention.
Thank you for that, because we as a community don't want to talk about
no
craziness and the craziness or the inability to be mentally healthy. Right?
And you're right. That sort of thing, I think, is passed down in cultures. In they want to refer to, just get over it, tough it out, pray. And I'm not saying pray is wonderful. We all need prayer, but there are times when you're gonna need some really, really extra help, especially struggling with depression. Our big guns in the field: depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia. Those are your big major mental health diagnoses. And just, get over it or tough it out. That's just not going to cut it at all. It's just not.
We can't keep Uncle Bernie in the back room with a locked door anymore, really.
No.
It's just not healthy for the families or anyone else, right? Yeah. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
And especially African Americans who have been notorious about avoiding that kind of thing. I guess they don't want to feel like they're crazy or that they don't have it together. Well, you got to understand that the mind and the body work together. You go to the doctor for your body, for your heart, your lungs, and everything. Your mental health is as important. So this is what I want to leave with your viewers: how important it is to get the help and check in. That's my last point. Check in with people.
Yeah.
Check in with people. How you doing? Make a phone call. especially people that live alone. Make a phone call. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Visit them. You know, you never know how just maybe one little phone call or a text or something, better a phone call,
Right.
one-on-one personal, might make a difference for someone who is right there on the edge. So do
Yeah.
that. That is so important.
And so we talked about everything else except how to get a copy of your book, Milani and Friends.
Oh,
We
okay.
really need to know that, right?
All right. Well, you can order it through my website,
Mhm.
and I'll type that Jackie
Please do.
Jordan's Corner.
Mhm.
Please don't order from Amazon, please. Order it through me, and I will actually mail it out to you, autograph it, mail it out, and also include a complimentary pen in the
Mm.
package. So definitely, and I take all types of cards, you know, credit cards. I have a Square machine, so I can take care of all of the finances. So it's Jackie Jordan's with an S corner.com. If you go on the website, you'll see a lot of information about the book, about myself, and of course, about how to order.
Great. Thank you so much, so much. And Miss Janice, thank you, Jackie, for being on this evening. I just want everyone to hear about the anthology project coming out of Arkansas. My good
Sure.
friend, Janice Kearney. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Really enjoyed you, Jackie. I
Oh,
love your book cover. It's
Yeah, it's
beautiful.
nice, right? Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, Donna, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you for being a part of the Read, Write, Share conference that we had this
Oh,
year.
I had a great time.
You brought
Thank
a
you
lot to it.
so
You brought
much.
a lot.
We had a great time.
So each year since we've been having our conferences, we have created something called the Southern Writers Anthology. And we invite writers, especially those who come on our conference, join us for our conference, but other people, the circles of the people that come to our conference,
Yeah.
to become anthologists, to submit to our Southern Writers Anthology. Now, I think Florida is considered kind of the South. I know most people
Yes.
don't.
It's below
So
the Mason-Dixon. We are south. Way
So
south.
I think you probably have some stories that would definitely kind of align with some stories from Arkansas and Texas and some of the other places. So we have, I'm going to put in here our Read, Write, Share website, but I'm going to tell you that the anthology submission dates are May 15th through August 15th. So if you're interested in submitting, you have until August 15th. But the sooner you start, as you know, the better, because you're going to have all kinds of reasons to stop and start back. So give yourself some time. And they are made up of short stories, memoirs. They need to be personal and true. So they're short memoirs. And this year, our theme is around COVID and how you survived and even thrived through COVID. And men, women, young people, everyone is
Yes.
invited to submit. And we this year we did start asking for a $25 donation because
That's $25?
yes, $25, because we found that the printing and distribution
Oh,
has
yeah.
just gone up so much. So we are asking for that. You don't have to send that until you submit your anthology. So we have a few guidelines, submission guidelines, but if you, do you want me to go through all this or just to send this out? I can send this out, Donna, or
Up to you.
what's
I
the
mean,
best way to share it?
listen, whatever you want to do, Janice, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me quickly go through the submissions criteria. Writers must exhibit an understanding of basic writing skills and crafting of story. Stories may include no more than 2,000 words. Stories may be shortened dependent on the layout needs. All submissions this year should be written around the theme of, oh Lord, my brother calling me. Let me
Say, hey,
get him
brother.
off the phone. I'll call you back. I'm sorry, I lost my train of
The
thought.
topic has to be about COVID.
Yes, and the theme of surviving and learning from life storms, stories of inspiration and motivation during the COVID pandemic. All submissions must include, you have to include an author's bio or just a headshot and a bio. And you should forward them to my email address, janice@wildpublishing.org. While all stories will be reviewed, no more than 20 stories will be selected. So that kind of gives you the impetus to send yours in as soon as possible
Awesome.
too.
Yeah.
And that's it. If you have questions, you can email me. I'm going to put my email address down here. And that's it.
2,000
Some kind of
words.
way.
Now,
Huh?
does the bio included in the 2,000 words, or the story is included in it?
The story is 2,000 words, and then your bio shouldn't be any more than a couple of paragraphs,
Okay.
and then a headshot.
Okay.
And I'm going to put my email address, but also I'm going to put the website on there, and it has some information about the anthology as well.
Thank you very much. And
Anybody
Janice,
have any questions?
any questions, anyone? It's going to be a great project. Southern Anthology with Janice F. Kearney and Friends out of Arkansas. And thank you so much for including me in as many things as you have. I appreciate the.
Oh, we love it. We love it.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
everyone, thank you for being on Zoom and on a Fresh Conversation. It's here every Monday night at 8 o'clock, 8 to 9. Jackie, Jordan, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. And to the audience this evening, literacy is a legacy. Be sure to leave it behind for the future of your children and our children's children. And good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank
Good
you,
night.
everyone. Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Great job, Jackie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, great job,
Thank
Jackie.
you.
Thank you.
Good night, all.